Ladies and gentlemen, welcome to LinkedIn Secrets Live. Drop in the comments and let me know where you are tuning in from today. It's great to be here. It's been a while since I've done an update on what's happening on LinkedIn, and it's just changing faster and faster all the time. Super excited to share with you some of the strategies and hacks that we're using with our clients now to get some awesome results. It's all changing all the time. Um, Great to see some familiar faces. Welcome, Paul. Drop in the comments, guys. Let me know where you're tuning in from. Paul's here from Bangkok. Um, and we want to make this session as interactive as possible. So you're welcome to ask questions as we go. Just type it in the comments. I'll be able to see them come through. Welcome, Craig from Melbourne. Good to see him. So drop the questions in as we go. I've got quite a bit to go through here. Welcome, Alex. We're going to cover some of the overall holistic changes that are happening on LinkedIn. Then we're going to go through lead generation, content marketing, and we're going to cover some stuff with articles, videos, and events, which are really powerful. Some cool things happening on LinkedIn at the moment, where things are headed. And then I'll get a chance to run through some of your questions. Oh, Alex has just reminded me it's his birthday today. Happy birthday, Alex. So great that you could be here on your special day, mate. Welcome. That's awesome. We win is in Bali. I'll be there on Saturday actually. Looking forward to it. We got Tom in the house. Brisbane. Kenny from Mexico City. Zuri from Ohio. Okay, cool. Well, without further ado, let's start getting stuck into the content. Before I forget, just for being on this live, I have got if you haven't got my LinkedIn templates, there's 12 templates that I use for lead generation. If you haven't got that document already with all my templates for lead generation, drop in the comments the word templates, and I'll make sure I'll send that to you. Drop it in anytime throughout the live. That's something I want to offer you guys as part of the thing, part of being here. You can use them word for word. They're proven messages and scripts that are proven to get the best conversion rates. So for those of you that haven't come across my content before, I've been in LinkedIn marketing specifically for the past 10 years. Before that, I was in digital marketing. I found that I was getting the best results from messaging people directly on LinkedIn about 10 years ago, setting appointments. And back then you couldn't post content. So the platform's changed quite a lot over the years, and it's continuing to change as LinkedIn becomes more of a monetizable platform. So I traditionally used it as a Rolodex to connect with potential prospects, message potential prospects, set appointments, make sales. And then they said you could create articles. First of all, it was only a couple of hundred people in the world that could post articles. They called them LinkedIn influencers. And people like Tony Robbins, Richard Branson. So those are the only content that you would see. And then they said, oh, let's just let everyone post articles, and based on the audience response, based on the engagement, we'll determine which articles get promoted, the most worldwide. So you could become, if you were good at writing articles, you got a lot of engagement, you could go viral relatively easily on LinkedIn once they introduce. So like when something's quite new, it's a quick opportunity for you to get a loads of exposure. Very similar when video started. Not many people were posting videos. Still not many are, but there was a lot less at the start. So if you did post it, the chances are to reach most of your network and beyond that. If you got a bit of engagement, LinkedIn Live came along. At the start, we could get like 3,000 people just by pushing live. And now LinkedIn events is a relatively new thing, and that's a really cool way to get a lot of people in the house. Yeah, drop in templates, guys, if you just joined. If you want to get my 12 best LinkedIn templates. So I do these LinkedIn secrets presentations about every quarter, because that's how often things are changing. A lot of the principles overall will be similar like throughout those presentations, but the tactics and the hacks are quite often different. Like every time I log into LinkedIn, I'm looking for new features, like what's changed. And normally those new features are where the opportunities are, because until everyone, picks up on it, you can get a lot of attention without investing a lot of money. One thing I will say, which I haven't been saying for the past 10 years, it's just recently, like in this year, I've really been hammering this home, is LinkedIn Sales Navigator has really improved. Like Sales Navigator was something that was created when LinkedIn realized there's a lot of people on LinkedIn that are using it for sales and marketing. We actually created LinkedIn as a recruitment tool. It was originally created as a recruitment tool. I know this because I saw their business plan that they use for their second round of capital raising, and they're like, okay, LinkedIn is a Rolodex of CVs. Recruiters will use it to find talent and people will use it to advance their career. They didn't actually have sections in that business plan about salespeople reaching prospects or marketers, advertising, and that kind of thing. So when they realized, oh, there's an audience here, they created this Sales Navigator thing. And the big selling point at the start, well, what they promoted as a selling point was you could message people you don't know, which they call in-mails. So I thought, okay, that sounds pretty good. I got a license which gave me 5,000 in-mails, and I tested it, and I was getting at least a 15% conversion rate when I would connect with somebody and then send them a message, which is actually free. It's just a two-step process. Whereas if I used an in-mail where I just message somebody that I don't know, what I found was it actually it would notify people that it was a paid message, like it was different than just a normal message, and the conversion rate was like 3 or 4%, which is actually very similar to email marketing. So the advantages of using LinkedIn to reach out to prospects was sort of diminished because the conversion rate was 5 times less than when I did it for free. So for a long time, I was saying to people, you don't need Sales Navigator. Like, it's just going to hurt your conversion rate because the only advantage is you get to send these emails. So LinkedIn's evolved now, and you can reach more prospects through Sales Navigator. You can find more people. You can send more connection requests, and you can organize like the leads that you're contacting into lead lists. It's almost like a CRM. And what we're tracking with clients, we're doing lead generation there, is we're putting notes in, we're creating lead lists of prospects. And so it's a really powerful tool if you're using LinkedIn for sales. I will say this though, like a lot of people who aren't using LinkedIn to generate leads at the moment think that getting Sales Navigator is just going to immediately solve all the problems. Like still need to be using it. So like I say to people, if you're using LinkedIn and you're getting some results from it, Sales Navigator will improve those results. Gives you functionality to like be able to narrow down the search results by things like company size, which is great. Like if you want to target a company size with a certain number of employees, like makes a huge difference to use Sales Navigator. All right, guys, thanks for dropping templates in the comments there. That's really helpful. I will make sure our team get the PDF to you via LinkedIn. And we've just been talking a little bit about Sales Navigator. What I'm going to be talking about is really holistic approach. So in the past, especially with like content like on Instagram, Facebook, YouTube, a lot of the focus, especially when like if you look at YouTube, it's a lot about views, right? And so with social media, we have a tendency to go, okay, if this post got 5,000 views and this one got 500 views, the one got 5,000 is better. And what I'm going to argue with you in this presentation is that's not necessarily the case. If you are using LinkedIn to target prospects, to grow your business, and to keep top of mind with those prospects specifically, the number of views is not actually the most important metric that you should be looking at. There are posts that could get a tenth of the views that could be way more productive for your business if it's showing to the right people. Okay. So what's this? Someone says, okay, just started again. Seems like a replay now. We are live, guys. We are live. I'm bringing these comments up live. We are here. So like this is the whole point of doing this is so it's interactive, so you can ask questions, etc., etc., etc. And so we're talking about the holistic approach here. So a lot of people don't realize this, but if I send you a connection request on LinkedIn and you accept that connection request, and then perhaps I even send you a message and say, hey, thanks for connecting, those interactions actually tell LinkedIn that you're interested in what I've got to say, and I'm interested in what you've got to say, even though it's not happening in the news feed and in public, it's happening privately. It's still indications to LinkedIn that you might be interested in my content. So what works really well is if you are connecting with prospects that are in your target audience and you make sure you're the one sending the connection request so you can be really targeted, and they're accepting, and you're having a conversation with them privately, sending them a follow-up message, for example, and then while you're doing that, you're posting content that's completely relevant to that target audience, the chances of those people seeing that content is extremely high. So you could be having conversations with 50 people, and if you post a video and it's only getting 100 or 200 views, the chances are that 50 of those views will be from the people that you're actually having conversations with, which are your prospects, which are going to be targeted further down the funnel. So you get my drift when I'm saying like it's much better to get those 50 people that you're already having conversations with, that you're specifically targeted to see your content, rather than 5,000 people that may not necessarily be in your ideal target audience. And so this like approach of being able to privately message and show content at the same time is really powerful. So one of the questions that does come up a lot, and I'm just going to hit this on the head straight away, is how often do you need to post content? And there was a time, and it was only a couple of years ago now, where I was actually posting on LinkedIn 5 times a day, because a lot of it was about recency, like how recently you post will determine how high you are in the newsfeed. It's shifted a lot more towards relevancy now. So I don't have to post 5 times a day. Twice a week is more than enough for me to show up at the top of the newsfeed for those people that are likely to be interested in my content. So I think focus on the quality of the content. Post twice a week as a minimum. I think that for the clients, we always post 2 videos a week. And then there's some content that goes out either by the client, or if we do images or articles that go out in between. I try to do 1 article a month, and images and videos work just as well. I will say this about videos though, is they do build a much deeper connection with the audience. So when you speak to them, they already feel like they know you. So that has a big impact. So on the lead generation front, guys, you may have heard that there's a limit on how many connection requests you can send people. What we found is that limit seems to be about 100 connection requests a week. Now, there's a couple of things that you might want to be aware of when it comes to how many connection requests you can send out. 100 might seem like a lot, but like generally the way the numbers work, right, is if you send out 100 connection requests, depending on how good your profile is, which we're going to get into in a minute, and if you've customized the connection request script, how targeted you are, you should be seeing about a 30% conversion rate now. So if you send 100 invites, you should be getting about 30 new connections. That's ideally what you want to be aiming for. Sometimes it's a bit higher, sometimes it's a bit lower. It just depends on the target market and your profile. Like, people will look at your profile when they decide whether or not to accept the connection request, which we're going to talk about very shortly. And then so those 30 new people that join your network, if you are then sending them a follow-up message, hey, thanks for connecting, notice your I've had to read through what you do, interested in learning more, or interested in, whatever the next step you would like to take with that potential prospect, sending them a thank you message for connecting, and then asking if they want to chat so you can get to know them better, is a really good way to approach it, because you don't want to start selling to people until you know that they have the problem that you solve. A big mistake that a lot of LinkedIn marketers and LinkedIn salespeople on LinkedIn make is they send that connection request and straight afterwards they start selling. They're like, hey, if they're a web developer and they do SEO, for example, they'd be like, hey, we do SEO for people in your industry. These are all our testimonials. You should really speak to us because we can get you to the top of Google. And what they've done is they've jumped in before they've established whether or not that person has the problem that they solve. So a much better way to approach that would be, hey, I notice you're in this industry. There's a lot of similarities here with the clients we like to work with. I'd like to find out a bit more about your business, what your objectives are, what your goals are, what you're working on at the moment, to see if there's an opportunity for us to work together or not. Because look, if they don't have the problem you solve, either they're already at the top of Google or they don't want more leads, because they've fully booked for the next 12 months, then you don't want to start selling to them. They're not the right client for you. There's plenty of businesses out there that will need your help, that you want to start talking. I'm just looking at the question. Is LinkedIn automation the elephant in the room? Okay, so let's talk automation, because we are on lead generation. So there's a couple of things that we need to keep in mind when it comes to things like automation. First of all, there's a user agreement on LinkedIn that frowns upon you using automation. They word it in a very specific way. I can't remember the exact words, but they do have technology that can identify if you're using automation. Whether or not it's going to pick it up, I don't know. There have been plenty of people with huge audiences that have been kicked off LinkedIn for using automation. So you got to tread carefully. I've trialed automation on my own profile. We don't use it for clients. Main reason being is, well, we can't risk you can't risk something happening to a client's account. They're trusting us with their window to the professional community. So when it comes to automation, you've got these things that can do automated messages and stuff like that. What you've got to be careful of, and this is what some of the things I've encountered when I've trialed it, is you got to make sure that you're not sending messages that don't make sense. Like, I think it's really good to have somebody overseeing manually what you're sending out. And also, if you're doing too many interactions in a short period of time, that'll something LinkedIn will pick up on as well. Something you've got to be really careful of. When I talk about the other thing with the automation is engagement pods. Engagement pods are basically groups of people that get together and they're like, oh, you like my content, I like your content, you comment on my content, I'll comment on your content. Again, something I trialed a while ago now. It must have been about 4 years ago. What I found with that stuff is you're teaching the algorithm that your content is most suited to a certain type of group of people, which are the people that are engaging on your content. But the reason that they're engaging is not necessarily because they could be a potential client, or not necessarily because they're getting value. They're actually engaging just so they can get some engagement in return. And so what happens is your LinkedIn starts showing your content to people that are relevant to your business. I think a much better way to approach it is to focus really on your target market and make sure your content's specific for them and engaging those guys. If you are connected with them on LinkedIn, there's a good chance you'll see their content as well. So you can create that reciprocity. I can't pronounce a word, but reciprocity. I've never been able to pronounce that word properly. But when you comment on their stuff, there's a good chance they'll comment on your stuff back. It's just not an organized process, if that makes sense. I hope that's helpful. Shortcuts in the long run are always an issue. I ran into this issue with search engine optimization, and back in the day, what it was, must have been 20 years ago now, I was able to get websites to the top of Google. And then one day, the company I was working for went from page 1 of Google to page 100 because we were using black hat techniques, getting links from all these different websites. It's very similar to this sort of automation engagement pod stuff. Eventually, the algorithms get smarter and they're able to give the users what they want, and therefore those hacks and short-term, shortcuts aren't as effective. So just tread carefully with that. I think focusing on building an audience long term and creating content that suits them. So this is going back to what I was saying at the start about being targeted views being way more important than number of views, because if you have a really targeted audience, then what will happen is you can create content that's suited to those guys that you have a relationship with. Too many people hop onto LinkedIn, and if they've got 15 minutes on LinkedIn, they're like, oh, look, I've got all these connection requests. I'll accept that. Sometimes they accept all of them. Sometimes they choose, but whatever they do when they're searching their invitations that have been sent to them, they are being reactive. Instead of actually going to the search feature, going, okay, what job title do I want to search for? What industry do I want them in? What location? And then you be the one sending the connection request. So you're being proactive about sending connection requests. Rob, thanks for being here. Does getting recommendations on our LinkedIn profile help your profile gain traction? So recommendations on your LinkedIn profile, guys, are testimonials that people have to submit from their own profiles. It's on a website. It's very hard to tell if somebody's manufactured testimonials, and so things like Google reviews and recommendations on your LinkedIn profile are really powerful. They don't help you get more eyeballs on your profile. What they help with is social proof. So I want everybody to think of their LinkedIn profile as the conversion point for everything you do on LinkedIn. One of the big mistakes people make is with their content is they do this cool post, and then at the end they're like, oh, by the way, contact me on this number, or by the way, this is our website, or whatever, and they have their call to action in the content. What I'm going to suggest is you post content that adds value. If people are interested in learning more, what they're going to do is they're going to click on your name and read your profile. If you send somebody a message, you don't have to explain everything about what you do, because they can click on your name and read your profile. And so when they get to your profile, what's going to determine whether or not they reach out to you or want to do business with you, or want to go further down that funnel, is things like social proof. It's really important that you have recommendations on your LinkedIn profile. So it's not just you telling people what you do, because they're just going to think, well, liar, pants on fire. Everyone's like, do I trust this guy or do I not? Whereas if there's all these recommendations from your previous clients, which are similar to the person looking at your profile, it's going to give them that confidence that you know what you're doing. It's just really powerful in business to business, right? Especially like if you think about, if you're a marketing manager, like we work a lot with companies that have marketing managers, and a marketing manager will look it up in my profile and they're like, what they're thinking to themselves, they're like, if I hire this guy, am I going to get in trouble by my boss, right? So if they see all the recommendations there, and there's over 100 on my profile, it gives them the confidence, like, oh, okay, no, this guy's well established, knows what he's doing, and I feel confident in making that hiring decision. So in B2B, it's really powerful. So you can use recommendations, you can use endorsements, you can put video testimonials on your profile. One of the things that I wanted to talk to you guys today about is the updates that you may have seen on LinkedIn profiles, where you can actually change your profile to creator mode. If you've come across, when you're editing your profile, when you're on your profile screen, you have the option to convert your profile to creator mode. And so what LinkedIn's trying to do, right, is for anyone that's posting content, LinkedIn really wants to understand what content you're posting, right? And so it does that a few ways. It does it by who you're connected with, the keywords that you use in your posts, the hashtags that you use in your posts. But now with Creator Profile, you can tell LinkedIn what you're posting about, right? So you could put like 5 hashtags in there that's like okay, I'm talking about LinkedIn tips, I'm going to talk about marketing, I'll talk about entrepreneurship, and I'm going to talk about social media. And so these topics, if someone in my audience is interested in those topics, it's more likely to show my content to them. And so it becomes more important for you to keep talking about the same topics, right? Keep your content familiar. So what I would argue you should do with that creator stuff is try and choose 2 or 3 hashtags which are broad, like marketing is a good example, or leadership is a good example, and then a couple which are a bit more specific, like LinkedIn tips, for example, would be a more specific hashtag. So you're capturing the wider audience, and then you're also narrowing down. A lot of people make the mistake of either doing too broad or too narrow, and I think you need a combination of both, really, to give LinkedIn accurate information about what you're talking about. And then when you post the content, use similar or the same hashtags when you're posting your content. Every company should have a branded hashtag, right? We work with Robert, a comment I just pulled this up on the screen. His company is called Arrowhead Painting. So every time we do a post for Rob, hashtag Arrowhead Painting. So that means that if you click on that hashtag, you can see all of the previous content that we've posted for that particular client, right? So very similar, like when I post LinkedIn Heroes, which is an interview series I do with entrepreneurs. Always use the hashtag LinkedIn Heroes, so you can click on the hashtag and see the library of historical content, because LinkedIn's very different to other platforms. It's not like Instagram, where you go to an Instagram profile and you see like historical content. You see all of the images and you can go back a couple of years, see what people have posted. Whereas on LinkedIn, when you go to someone's profile, you just see their profile, right? Which quite often is a version of their CV. Kenny's asked which format post works better. We are going to go into the different kinds of posts very shortly. Combination is the best. LinkedIn have come out and publicly said that we're going to favor content creators who post a mixture of different types of content. So I'm talking here about videos, images, and articles, and text-based posts. So because what happens is, like, some people on LinkedIn like may hack the text-based post, and they're really good at doing that, but they don't post the other stuff. And so LinkedIn looks at it and goes, okay, well, they may have hacked one style of content, but we're looking for people that have got a holistic approach. People are interested in hearing what they say in different formats. I like video because it creates such a greater connection with the audience. Even though videos may not get as many views as say an image, but like it's much easier for somebody to scroll through and view an image takes a second rather than actually press play and start watching a video. So the views, again, not the most important metric. Kevin, thanks for joining us. Do you think that works for calls to actions on a company page profile as well as your personal profile? Yeah, so on a company page, you've got to think of it as well like the conversion point. Like, think about the information that people are looking for when they come to your company page. The only place that it will be different with the call to action is when it comes to ads, right? So if you're posting ads, then you want to have a call to action on the actual ad. And by the way, just a quick tip: if you are using ads, make sure you use the lead gen forms. Lead gen forms basically allow people to push one button and submit their information. Really powerful. Like, the less clicks people have to make an inquiry, the better. So like the fact that you can just push one button and submit a lead gen form is really powerful. Just running through some of these questions, guys. Do you think groups in LinkedIn are effective for lead generation? So we use groups in a couple of ways. So first of all, when we start a client campaign, we always look for groups that their target audience might be a member of. So if we're targeting medical practitioners, we may look for a medical group. And that way you have something in common with all those other members. And so it's much easier for you to find those people, connect with them, and so on. In terms of posting in groups, I found that they haven't been very effective, particularly lately. At the start of LinkedIn, they were pretty good. I think that'll change though. Like, so I wouldn't take your eye off the ball with LinkedIn groups altogether. But at the moment, like, look, technically, if you post in a LinkedIn group and you get a bit of engagement, LinkedIn should be emailing, like, depending on your notifications settings, an update saying, "Oh, this group, the most popular post in this group this week was this this post." I just haven't found like I'm getting a lot of traction from them lately, to be honest. I do have my own LinkedIn group. It's called, if you guys want to join, it's called the Nathaniel Bibby Community, I believe. A few thousand people in there. And when it's your own group, you can put a post in there, and then you can recommend one every 7 days, which means it actually tells everyone in the group that there's a post gone up. So that's pretty cool. I use that quite a lot. But they're not like Facebook, not yet anyway. Like, this is the thing with LinkedIn, is it's always behind the other social platforms a little bit. And so I think that their groups function is going to be one of the next things that improves a lot. So keep your eye on it. But yeah, at the moment, I haven't found some exceptional results with LinkedIn groups. LinkedIn events is really a big opportunity at the moment. So like, this live's a good example, right? So the way it works is you can set up a LinkedIn event. I encourage you all to go check it out. You've all registered for this one. A couple of ways you could do it. You can do it on a personal profile, or you can do it on a company page. If you do it on a company page, you can actually get people to submit their email addresses as well, which is what we've done here, which means that I can follow it up with those, send out the templates or whatever I want to do. I haven't decided necessarily what we're going to send out yet, but you get the email information as well when people register, which is really important, because you got to keep in mind, like, it's very easy for people to register to a free event on LinkedIn, but not everyone's going to attend, right? And so to be able to have that information, to be able to follow up with, is really important. It will send reminders to people to join the LinkedIn event. A lot of people will add it to their calendar. So all that functionality is taken care of. But you can send up to 1,000 invitations to people in your network to join the event every week. So if you have a network that's 2,000 people, for example, all you want to do is set the event at least 2 weeks in advance, so that you can send 1,000 invites in the first week and 1,000 invites in the second week, and you've invited your entire network to join the event. And one of the things that so the way that it shows up, you would have all seen this, because I invited each of you to this event. Well, unless you've seen it shared, but most of the people here will be because they invited personally from me. You would have seen it pop up in the same place that you get invitations to connect. So it'll be like, Nathaniel Bibby invited you to LinkedIn Secrets Live, and you can just press accept, and then you'll get those reminders, and you can join. If you are doing if you're going live from outside of the US, you'll probably need a third-party tool to live stream. So I really recommend StreamYard, which is what I'm on now. StreamYard, if you want to write that down. It's very easy to set up. Yeah, you will need a third-party tool. You can't just press live like you can on Facebook. And then that'll set it up for a LinkedIn event. But like, it's just so cool that you can send like 1,000 invites to people without having an email database to join your event. You just got to make sure it's relevant to them. So if you have a targeted audience, it really makes all the difference, right? Rob, I hope you don't mind. I'll use you as an example again. Like Rob is a commercial painter, and so like a lot of the people he's connected with are building managers, facility managers, and so if you make the content specifically for those people, it's going to be relevant to them, and also they'll have some familiarity with who you are, and so they're likely to accept. Um, and then the next most important thing is like your headline and the thumbnail that you use, right? So just a couple of things with the headline. You don't want to make it too complicated. A lot of people like say this it's about this and this and this. You'll notice mine, LinkedIn Secrets Live, very simple. Keep it very simple, very easy to digest. It doesn't matter if it doesn't explain everything that you're about to talk about. You can do that in the description. But you just want to capture people's attention. And then also the thumbnail is really important. I encourage you all to put a photograph on the thumbnail so people will connect with the picture of your face. And one thing that your connections all have in common is they're all connected to you, right? And so personalize it like that. A lot of people like will make a thumbnail with like a picture of a coffee cup or something like that, or they don't want to put their face on it, and it just doesn't connect as well. And it can really make a big difference, guys. Like if you're sending 1,000 invites out, this can make the difference between you getting like 7 people on there and 50 people on there. All right, so content. We're going to go back to talk about the content, the different kinds of posts. One of the things I want to touch on first, which is a little bit skewed from the content I normally talk about, but like I want to go back to talking about articles, LinkedIn articles. So as I was saying, I post about once a month. LinkedIn articles are something which a lot of people ignore and they don't bother doing, and they do take a lot more time to put together. But a lot of people think they need to have loads of data and facts in it to be all businessy, and that's not necessarily the case. Like this is where storytelling comes into it, and so sharing an idea or a thought in an article is a really powerful way to do it. When you do an article, you really want to like make sure you include lots of eye-catching images, not boring, like going back to the whole coffee cup thing, not boring stock photographs. I either want to make them personalized and use pictures of you or your team or out there working, I even use a lot of GIFs, GIFs like, to add a bit of comic, to comedy to the articles, make it entertaining, make it enjoyable to read. And then what you can do with your articles is you can actually create a newsletter which people subscribe to. And when you create that like subscription option, it invites all of your network if they want to subscribe to it. So when I set up my subscription newsletter, it invited my entire network, and there's like 5,000 people that are subscribed to it. So every time I post an article, they will all get notified about it. So I put a lot of time into those articles, make sure they add a lot of value, and then what I do to convert those articles into lead generation is always at the bottom. I'll offer some sort of lead magnet, right? So the LinkedIn templates that I talked about, the 12 proven templates that convert the best, is like an example of a lead magnet, right? So if people want to get that, they go to this link, and that means that they can enter their details. They'll get some follow-up emails and stuff like that. And in exchange, they get this huge amount of value in a downloadable PDF. So you don't want to just do the article and not have either a lead magnet or a call to action at the end. Really important that once people have gone through that content and they feel like they've got value, that you give them the next step of how they can find out more or move down your journey. So a lot of people post content and they don't convert that content into leads. And I want to make sure that if you're taking the time to write an article, do a video, or do a post, that it's actually converting into business for you. But with the articles, you want the lead magnet or a call to comment or call to action down the bottom to convert that attention. And you'll find that they get a lot of reach. If you write a good article, because LinkedIn can actually tell how long people are dwelling on your content. So how long are people actually sitting on your content? So if it's a good article, people are sitting there for 5 or 10 minutes, 15 minutes reading the article, there's a good chance that it's going to get a lot of exposure. Kevin wrote an article on finding a job with LinkedIn that was published by Yahoo Finance Australia. Something that's okay to share in the chat box may be useful for people on the call. Yeah, go for it, Kevin. More than happy for you to share that. Sounds good. So articles, yeah. So I would aim to do one a month. Like really kick it off with going to. If you go to my profile, there's a really good article that I wrote about how to write LinkedIn articles. Maybe I'll drop it in the comments after to make it really simple for you guys, so I can give you some more value. You go through that. There's a checklist in it, which is a pre-published checklist to show you all the things that you need to put in the article, like subheadings and how many images you should use and all that kind of thing. In terms of the video content, one of the things that I see people doing, which is I think is a big mistake, is they're spending a lot of time creating each video individually. And one of the things that my clients know is that I'm a big believer in batch creation, creating lots of content at once. So like even with those articles, for example, like out of an article, like you could use the article as the pillar content, and you can actually turn that content into 15 short image posts, 15 short topics for videos as well. And so you're not just creating this content and that content and this content. I'll do a video on this today. Especially if you're getting video production done professionally, which on LinkedIn is a really good idea. You want to come across professional. If you're doing each video individually, like it'd be very difficult to be able to produce one video for less than $1,000, for example. When I first started doing video creation, I was looking for a video production company to help me. The first video I got made was $5,000, and it was what we do. And it's great for our website and send it to clients and that kind of thing. But it's not sustainable. If I want to be posting 2 videos a week, it's costing me $5,000 each time. It's just not going to be sustainable. And so what I've learned to do over the years is batch create video content, right? And so what I'll do with clients is I'll interview them, and each question is designed to create an engaging answer that's 1 to 2 minutes long, which can be used as a short video. And so in 45 minutes, we can create 20 short videos, and then we add all of the intros, the subtitles, the headlines, all of the B-roll, which is, they'll have images, video images showing what we're talking about, and then the outro and everything. So it all looks really professional, but we create 20 videos at once. Right. And so I want you to all be thinking about the same thing, whether you do that with us, or you use like speaking engagement content, or you even sit down and talk to camera like this, but go through like 20 topics at once to get them all edited and batch create your content. You'll find 20 videos, if you're posting twice a week, will last you 3 months. Thanks for dropping that link in there, Kevin. Hope that's valuable. Good guys, check that out. Harsh, thanks for being here. Can you repurpose an article from your blog and put it on LinkedIn? How long should you wait before repurposing? Great question. Yeah, so absolutely. Absolutely. Like I've always posted on LinkedIn first. But you can absolutely do it the other way. The reason I do it on LinkedIn first is because the audience is there. It's a captive audience. The problem with, and Harsh probably knows this, but just for the benefit of everyone else, if you do share like a blog article on LinkedIn, just the fact that it's a link that's taking people off of LinkedIn to another website will mean it'll get less reach, because LinkedIn want to keep people on its site. So repurposing the article as a LinkedIn article means people are going to stay on LinkedIn when they read it, means it'll do a lot better. And so it's like absolutely this is what you should be doing. And you might find that there's just a few little minor improvements that you can make, like with LinkedIn articles. You've got to make sure that you have the headline in the right place. You might make sure you have the subheadings. You want about 7 or 8 images that are, you might find that you want to add a bit more entertainment, because it is social media at the end of the day. So whereas your website might be a bit more professional, you'll notice like the articles I post on LinkedIn have got a lot more, like I don't, got the GIFs in them, etc., which may not be on my website. And then make sure you have that call to comment at the bottom, like encourage people to comment, share their thoughts, feedback, stuff like that, which is something that you may or may not be able to do on your blog. So just making a few changes. In terms of how long you should wait before repurposing, So one of the things that you might be thinking about is with content online in general. If you have duplicate content out there, like on two websites, if Google finds the same content on two websites, it'll either promote like the one that it'll most likely promote the one that's been posted first, and the other one won't show up in the search results. That actually won't happen with LinkedIn, by the way. So I just wanted you guys to know that it's fine to have the same content on LinkedIn because it's a social media site. Google's not going to penalize you for repurposing the content, and it just depends whether or not it's the same, like if same audience. So, like if your website is just getting traffic from Google, it's fine to do it immediately on LinkedIn. If you know, because it's going to be a different audience. But if you're sending the blog article out to your database, then it's a good idea to wait a couple of months before you repurpose it, if that makes sense. Any advice on using the newsletter function? Not used it yet. I'm keen to know do's and do nots. Um, Yeah, so with the newsletter, like you want to go into it with a plan, a long-term plan, do regular content. I think it's really important to come up with a theme that's quite unique, and something that you can talk about regularly. And you just want to structure it in a similar way. So each article for or each newsletter has a call to action at the start for people to subscribe. You'll see the way I've structured mine when if you go check out my articles. Always have the option to subscribe at the start and the option to subscribe at the bottom. Have consistent branding with your thumbnails and all that kind of stuff. But yeah, those are the main things that I would think about. But it's really powerful, and so like LinkedIn, those newsletter things and the events are really powerful tools that are relatively new for LinkedIn. We talked about batch creating video content. If you haven't had experience creating video content, it is really cool to do it in an interview format, like I was talking about before. I found for people without experience, creating content is a really powerful way to do it. And then when you're posting them, you want to the caption that you write, the text that you write along with the video is really important because if you don't have a caption, people aren't going to watch the video. They still got to press play, so it's got to intrigue them, right? So you tell them a little bit about what the video is about, but not too much that they don't have to watch it, right? And then you always encourage people to share their thoughts, give them a reason to comment, but you've got to be really careful about putting big chunks of text in your posts. Remember, a lot of people, even though you're not necessarily posting all the time on your mobile phone, a lot of people consuming your content on a mobile phone, and all they have to do to scroll past it is this. So you want to make it really easy to read. Short sentences, not short sentences, and then each sentence should really just be one paragraph. You don't want big blocks of text because as soon as somebody loses their space, they're scrolling on. Really important that the caption is effective. And then you want to keep the videos as short as possible with it, as long as you're getting the value across. So, like, you know, if you can get value across in 40 seconds, great, go for it, brilliant. Sometimes it takes 2 minutes. That's great. But if you are posting video content, on average, after 10 seconds, 50% of people aren't watching anymore. On average, right? So, like, you got to make sure the first 10 seconds is engaging. So what we do with our clients is, like, if we've got a 2-minute video, we find like the 5 seconds of that video where they're saying something punchy that creates curiosity, and we actually cut that out and put that at the start, so it keeps people watching. And then all of a sudden, you know, you keep a lot more people watching. And then after a minute, about 80% on average of your audience is gone. So it's really important that you just like pack the value at the start. And then when it comes to images, like you can use, like I think quotes are really powerful with images on LinkedIn. So if you are doing videos and you say something that you can condense into something that's like people can relate to, and you put it in a quote card using Canva, use canva.com to make it look the graphics appeasing. That's really powerful. You can use testimonials. Like posting testimonials is not always going to get a lot of engagement, but it's a great way to show that social proof to your audience. So like if you're posting video content twice a week, the people that are watching it that are targeted, that you've been connecting with, and then in between that you post a testimonial or two, then those people may not be commenting on the testimonial, necessarily, but they will be seeing that, and it's going to help build your brand and give social proof, right? Also, something that you can do uniquely with the images, and a lot of you will be doing this. A lot of people do this really well. Is sharing what you're up to, and like in business, sharing what you're up to in real time always does really well. Like if you're at an event, or if you're at your desk and you're like, hey, I'm attending LinkedIn Secrets, and you do like a selfie here, those kind of stuff that shows people, like gets people, invites them into your journey, and really personalized, helps people build a relationship with you. There's a thing called the mere exposure effect. If any of you have been any of my events before, you hear me talk about the mere exposure effect a lot. But it's something that's been in marketing for years, and it basically states that the more times that somebody is exposed to your brand, the more familiar that brand is to them, and therefore the more likely they are to buy from you. And so this is why, like, Coca-Cola is such a successful company, because so many people are familiar with that brand. So like if I drove home from the office, and I saw 10 billboards of Coca-Cola, and I didn't see any Pepsi, all things being equal, just because I've seen the Coca-Cola brand, it's more familiar, more trustworthy, more likely to buy. So when it comes to content marketing, the mere exposure effect is extremely important. You think about it. If you're connected with 10 accountants, but the one accountant that you see posting their videos twice a week, they've got an awesome profile. They post the testimonial in between. They are more familiar with you. And so when you're thinking about which accountant do I work with, you're like, oh, that guy. That's that guy. That's the mere exposure effect in action. And so I'm always thinking about, when I post my content, I'm like, how do I post content that adds value that people see, so they are more familiar with them, so they're more likely to choose me over the next provider. And it's worked absolute wonders. Most of the leads I'm talking to, they're not speaking to anyone else. They're not speaking because I'm the guy that they've been following. I'm the guy that's provided value. And I just mention this because it wasn't like this 10 years ago. 10 years ago, I was always speaking to prospects that were speaking to 3 or 4 other providers, and they would be reviewing proposals. A lot of it came down to price. And when you build your brand with content and use the mere exposure effect, you eliminate that issue. And it's such a competitive marketplace at the moment that this really creates a competitive edge. So it's not always like so obvious. Everyone's like, oh, I posted a content, didn't make a sale. It's more of a holistic, long-term strategy to be communicating to your audience at scale. Some great questions coming through, guys. Brilliant. If you've just joined us, I mentioned earlier that if you wanted to get a copy of my 12 best LinkedIn templates, just drop the word templates in the comments. I'll make sure we get that to you after the broadcast. We've talked a little bit about LinkedIn events. We've talked a little bit about content. We talked about the holistic marketing strategy. Okay, now let's just go back to the profile for a little bit. You may have noticed that if you do go to somebody's profile on LinkedIn now, that below their cover image, which is the big banner behind their profile pic, there's a little bell icon. And so that bell icon is so you can turn notifications on. So if you all go to my profile, whether you open up a new window and do it now or do it after the live, hit the bell icon. That means you'll get notified every time I post on LinkedIn. So there's been some legislation that's come out in the US which wants social media sites to give its users the option to bypass the algorithm and decide whose content they get, right? So even though I've got 30,000 connections, which is the limit, and I've got almost 40,000 followers. If I want to see my clients' content, it's not necessarily going to show up for me because I've got so many people I'm connected with, so many people I follow. For somebody to get to the top of the newsfeed, they have to have a really engaging piece of content. And so if I specifically really want to see my clients' content, which I do, I don't want to miss out when they're posting. I go to their profile and I hit that notification bell, and that ensures that I get notified every time that person posts. And so if you do look at my LinkedIn profile, you'll notice that in that cover image, I've actually said people hit the bell so you don't miss a post. I'm posting twice a week or whatever it says on there, and hit the bell. I think it says I'm posting daily, actually. If I'm posting daily, hit the bell so you don't miss a post. So that's something you should all be thinking about in your cover image. If you're using cover image and you're posting regularly, it's a really good idea to tell people to hit that bell so that they get notified about the content. like when people get notified every time you post, they're gonna view that post, and then they're more likely to engage on it. If you get some likes and comments immediately after you post, it makes a huge difference. Way more powerful strategy than using an engagement pod, for example. It's huge. Like people don't think that it's a big deal, but it's a real big deal. Like if you can get 100 people to get notified every time you post, you're going to get quick engagement. Means your content's always going to do really well on the basis that it adds value. All right. So these are some of the things that you should be thinking about now with LinkedIn. I think with everything, it comes down to how targeted your audience is and being able to add value to that audience. So it's really important that you are being proactive with who you invite into your audience. Sales Navigator is a great way to do that. And then as you're adding people into your network, starting conversations with them, bring that conversation offline if they look like a prospect. You don't want to be going back and forth on LinkedIn about using the services. It's great. You want to bring it off onto a Zoom call or a phone call, and then posting content regularly so that all those people that you're inviting into your network are seeing you're popping up, and you're using the mirror exposure effect, using a combination of videos, articles, and written content and images, and then take advantage of LinkedIn events. Plan a couple of LinkedIn events depending on how big your audience is. You want to plan it so you can invite 1,000 people each week leading up to the event. And that way you're hitting people on all fronts when it comes to LinkedIn, and it's a great way to grow your business. Our clients are getting some fantastic results. You can target real key decision makers in high value industries, and yeah, I wish you all the best with it, guys. Thanks very much for joining me. Look, if any of you want to learn more about how to use LinkedIn effectively, I have got a course called LinkedIn Insider 2.0. 2.0 because it's the updated version. I updated it this year. It's all about how to grow your business with LinkedIn. There's loads of videos, training modules, webinars in there, checklists, and so on that you can use to generate leads, post content, turn connections into prospects, and convert them into sales. So if you want to grow your audience, grow your revenue, make more sales, and follow like a step-by-step process to how to do that, then LinkedIn Insider 2.0 is a great way to do that. I'm going to post a link in the comments, and there's a promo code that I'll just mention on here for anyone that's attended. The program's 597 Australian dollars. 100% money back guarantee, gives you lifetime access to the course. But if you use the keyword, the promo code LinkedIn, you'll get 15% off of that. So I highly recommend checking that out. I'll drop the link in the comments. Other than that, thanks very much for tuning in, guys. Craig says he can't see the bell on my profile. It may not have rolled out to every LinkedIn user yet. It should be showing up for most of you guys, but yeah, so it may just not be rolled out to wherever you are in the world at the moment. So just keep an eye out for it. Thanks so much for joining me, guys. Thanks for all the questions. I found it really really engaging, which is a great session, and look forward to seeing you all on LinkedIn soon.